The lunar eclipse of the 27th of July, the longest eclipse in the 21st century. So this is Michael Keneally speaking to you from our healing centre here in the west of Ireland. And I'm going to try and describe the particular energies that are around at the time of this great and powerful eclipse with its long-lasting effects. And the description will hopefully be useful preparation where you can apply the general description to your own life and handle the eclipse well and bring great results out of it. So there's a lunar eclipse on the 27th of July 2018, and this eclipse is actually the longest total lunar eclipse of the 21st century, so the period 2001 to 2100. And UK newspapers are calling it the end of time eclipse. Well, it won't be the end of time. But wouldn't it be wonderful if it was the end of time for our dysfunctional patterns and our weaknesses? Because eclipses are earthquake energy. Eclipses are tsunami. Eclipses are when tension has grown up and there's an earthquake. The Earth's crust can't hold the tension anymore. Eclipses are tsunamis, huge tidal waves. And this is the biggest one in the 21st century. It lasts for 1 hour 43 minutes, and so that means its effects will be felt for a long time. And it's visible quite widely on the globe. Okay, eclipses affect our mind and our life and indeed the Earth's surface considerably. You see, we're largely made up of water, and remember the moon pulls the tides of the ocean, so the moon affects our minds, and you may even know people who become a bit tricky at the time of a full moon. But this isn't just a full moon, it's an eclipse. And so eclipses have powerful effects. They're wild cards in a tarot dealing. What an eclipse does, it sends a glaring ray of truth onto a needed area of your life. With an eclipse, something ends and something new will begin. Now, you may get huge inspiration at the time of the eclipse if you're open to that, but don't take a hasty decision. Note the inspiration, but decide how to implement it when things have calmed down. You do need to check out where the eclipse chart relates to your birth astrology chart. Then you'll know what houses in your astrology chart the eclipse is particularly powerful, and the houses are an area of our life. And you particularly need to know if there's a planet in your birth chart that the eclipse is going to hit, be on top of in your birth chart, because that will most certainly have a big effect. And it's a good idea to be aware of it upcoming, to think how to handle it well. And basically, as I said, an eclipse is an earthquake energy. When there's tension in the Earth's crust, the eclipse causes the Earth to shear apart. But what's the analogy for that in our own life? Well, basically the analogy is where there's tension in our life, where we are off course for our true self, where we are off course for our spiritual destiny. And the eclipse will hammer that area of our life, if indeed the eclipse is on that part of our chart that represents that area of our life, or the planet that represents that part of our life. And what eclipses do is they deeply polarize and they internalize the issues, so we can't sort of escape them. I mean, the only way we could escape them if we're a robot. But there are better ways to live than being a robot. We're actually here to manifest our special spark of being and talent. And that's what the divine purpose of the eclipse is about, to destroy parts of you that are negative for you manifesting your talent, to open the space for you to manifest it. So if the eclipse is in your 10th house of career, you could get the sack from the horrible job you shouldn't be in and step into something more fulfilling. Or you might have blocks to career and the eclipse will smash those blocks. Inspiration will enter the space. It is at a very inspirational time, this, and I'm coming to that. And your career will flower. Well, wouldn't that be lovely? So, basically speaking, 2018, July and August are dicey, difficult energies for the mind, for the body, for the world, for the earth. And so we need to be prepared to stand firm and to be aware. Take things more carefully, take things in a more measured way. Cope with self-doubt. For goodness sake, cope with self-doubt. Because that is the enemy to the rebirth that the eclipse divine purpose is all about. So basically there are 3 eclipses in this time scale. This is just one of 3, although it's by far the biggest. So see my separate video for the 13th of July eclipse and the 11th of August eclipse. And do see my astrology and healing newsletter video for July 2018, because astrologically there isn't just these eclipses, there are other very huge energies which it would be so good to have a positive handle on and to hear what might be possible, and that could spur you to growing that delicate little plant of possibility so that its flowers take over a landscape of earthquake, volcanoes and violence, which is the nature of this eclipse, but not its purpose. So, yeah, and the other point is Uranus is really big in this eclipse chart, and Uranus has just entered Vedic sign of Aries. And so it's powerful and it's inspirational and it's magical now, but it's also violent and warlike. Uranus has an orbit period of 84 years. What happened last time Uranus was entering Vedic Aries 84 years ago? The Second World War was brewing. So don't underestimate what's going on. Mars is conjunct Ketu. Ketu is the south node of the moon. Its energy is utterly violent, but with spiritual purpose. It destroys what shouldn't be part of us, so that we have the possibility for insight and to embrace what should be part of us. And I personally have so much to thank Uranus for since he entered Aries, and he's big in this eclipse. And so this astrology I'm offering you isn't sort of, slack, happy, sloganistic channeling. I'm trying to offer you a genuine description of the energies of the moment so that you can ask the right questions. What is my healing? Who is my true self? What is my path to empowering and to connecting with my true self, my life purpose, and keeping it alive and present? That's the question of the moment through this eclipse, which includes which includes Uranus. Now in the blog associated with this video, I've got some diagrams about what is the difference between a solar and lunar eclipse, because there are 3 eclipses in this cycle. The solar eclipse of the 13th of July, this lunar eclipse of the 27th, and the solar eclipse of the 11th of August. So basically a solar eclipse is when the moon comes between the sun and the earth and obscures the sun. So the moon is cutting off the light of the sun. the moon is covering the sun. But a lunar eclipse, like this one, is when the Earth stands between the sun and the moon. So the Earth casts a shadow on the moon, and you can actually see the shadow of the Earth moving across the moon. It can blot out the moon considerably. And eclipses have always been powerful. In the most ancient manuscripts, eclipses were seen as harbingers of the need for change and the possibility of downfall or victory. You know, and I've sort of read them in ancient Greek, in ancient Norse, the ancient Irish manuscripts. So you really do need to see the chart of an eclipse and to see how that eclipse chart interacts with your birth chart. It will help considerably. So, how do you analyse an eclipse's effect on you and your life? Well, the first thing is to tune in intuitively, look at the charts, check in how you're feeling, and that gives you keys about what it's really about. And you may decide on courses of action. Oh yes, I'm really going to take it steady. I'm going to avoid critical or aggressive speech or actions, because this eclipse is indeed very critical and aggressive. And you're going to maybe focus on the things that this eclipse fosters. And some of them are, you know, quite technical achievement type things, because the south node of the eclipse, Ketu, is with Mars in Capricorn. And so it's really good for construction work or for technical work. And because Ketu is inspirational, it's actually very good for magical transformation. And in the recent period, while Ketu-Mars conjunction has been in the heavens, and it's part of this eclipse, obviously, because it's the south node and the nodes are always part of an eclipse, I've created a magical will course, and so far in this brief period 14 people have done it and seen their true self and been helped by that and worked on techniques to keep that alive and present. And if you're interested, write to me. I haven't had time yet to put it on my website. So eclipse effects can be long-lasting. The longer the eclipse, the longer the effects. And where an eclipse was in the heavens, there's a stagnant patch of energy. And the whole point is, say another planet transits through that stagnant patch of energy in the coming few years, it will actually activate the eclipse energy again for us, for you. So, if you look at the blog, you can actually see the chart for the eclipse in Western astrology and Vedic astrology. So the eclipse sun is at 10 Vedic Cancer in Pushyami Nakshatra. The nakshatras are the wonderful 27 lunar signs of Vedic astrology that so powerfully and accurately depict our emotional self, warts and all, with the purpose, of course, of spiritually growing within that state of consciousness and life path. So the eclipse sun is at 10 Vedic Cancer in Pushyami, eclipse moon at 10 Vedic Capricorn in Shravana. So first of all, there's actually a Western chart. So in Western astrology, the eclipse moon and sun are 4 Leo to 4 Aquarius, using the Western tropical zodiac, but Vedic astrology is entirely based on the sidereal zodiac. And that's the zodiac you need to use for it. And if you look at the chart, you see instantly that Uranus is square this eclipse. It's at 90 degrees to the sun, at 90 degrees to the moon. And because the moon is conjunct the south node and Mars, Uranus is square the Mars-Ketu conjunction that I've been talking about. So it's, I mean, if you think about it, Uranus was a sky god. He ate his children. It's a pitiless energy of lightning and inspiration. So it needs to be handled carefully, but we need it if we can handle it carefully. And it's in Pushyami Nakshatra, so that basically, well, the power animal for Pushyami is the ram, the lead male sheep of the flock. and basically that energy is caught up, and in fact I have my ascendant in Pushami, so I have the eclipse on my ascendant, and that's very big. It could mean terrible downfall, or it could mean complete transformation itself. So have a look at the blog. It is extensive, and I actually include in the blog a way you can assess in very simple terms the effect of an eclipse in the house of your Vedic chart. So if the eclipse is in your 10th house of career, major shape up in career. If it's in, what shall I look at? Libra, that would be in your 4th house. Then for a Libra ascendant, the eclipse is in the 4th house, so major changes in the home. And then I've got a list, very simple terms, of the effect of the eclipse on any planet in your birth chart. It's actually more complicated than the list, because of course the planets are karakars or indicators for people and areas of life. But I've put a simple one-size-fits-all meaning. So if the eclipse is on your Saturn, then read what it means. So get in touch with me for a reading. My astrology readings are very inspirational, thorough and caring. I do them by Zoom all over the world, or here face to face in the west of Ireland in our healing centre. And of course I have wonderful courses in both Vedic astrology and Western astrology, and the links to those are in the blog post. Hope to hear from you. Thank you. The lunar eclipse of the 27th of July. The longest eclipse in the 21st century. So this is Michael Keneally speaking to you from our healing centre here in the west of Ireland. And I'm going to try and describe the particular energies that are around at the time of this great and powerful eclipse with its long-lasting effects. And the description will hopefully be useful preparation where you can apply the general description to your own life and handle the eclipse well and bring great results out of it. So there's a lunar eclipse on the 27th of July 2018, and this eclipse is actually the longest total lunar eclipse of the 21st century, so the period 2001 to 2100. And UK newspapers are calling it the end of time eclipse. Well, it won't be the end of time. But wouldn't it be wonderful if it was the end of time for our dysfunctional patterns and our weaknesses? Because eclipses are earthquake energy. Eclipses are tsunami. Eclipses are when tension has grown up and there's an earthquake. The Earth's crust can't hold the tension anymore. Eclipses